The great
Oh,
Aircraft Sparky, one of my absolute favorite people to watch and to
my
stream
man.
with. He's kind of like me if I was more likable. That's how I
Oh,
like
please.
in
You've
Sparky.
definitely got way more charisma than myself. I just say the things that everyone else is scared to because I don't care if YouTube kicks me off at this point. But
You're
that's only because I'm retiring from politics after this election.
oh really? We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah.
Now you're oh there we go. Your video was slightly lagging behind your audio, but I
Oh,
think it's better now.
oh, there we go. Hopefully.
Yeah. So yeah, it's great. It's great to have you here. Thanks so much. I know one of the things that's great. So like this is what an awesome dude Sparky is. Sparky is perpetually that guy. If you ever need a like something in reserve, Sparky 99 out of 100 times there for me. So it's like Sparky, I'm supposed to do this debate in modern day debate. They say they have me a partner, but they haven't confirmed. If they do confirm, I obviously have to go with that person. But if I need a backup, Sparky's like, absolutely, man. Which that
Yeah.
sucks because then you're sitting there not knowing if you're going to debate or not. Because at the last minute, if they say, yeah, this other dude showed up, then that's who they sent the invite to. And even today, Sparky let me know that there were huge slots of time that he would be available if we had guests not show up or if we had free time to call in. So, I mean, I appreciate that a lot. It's not the easiest thing to do, and it really shows, you're a really awesome guy. You really do always come through for me.
Look, don't praise me for not having a life, okay? That's really all you're doing at
Oh
this
shit!
point.
I'm gonna spit up this. Thank God, Sparky's a boring sack of shit with nothing going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, I mean, look, okay, so I have made a decision that after the election season, after the next president is inaugurated, Donald Trump, by the way, I'm giving up political streaming. Politics weighs heavy, and I've been doing this now for 8 years, and well, I haven't grown that much. I didn't do it for the subscriber count or the money or anything, but over the years, it's diminishing returns. It weighs heavy.
Dude,
So
I saw Mike Cernovich say this the other day, which isn't everyone's cup of tea, but he said something that really resonated with me. He was like, "You have to keep working until you're sick of yourself," and that's
yes,
exactly how I feel. I kind of like this election's going to be such a huge pressure release valve, and not just like finally we'll win. I hope we win. I still think Kamala will win because the institutional advantages are such. Nonetheless, it's not necessarily when I'm talking about winning or losing. It's that you put this pressure on yourself, and it really is. It starts to feel like this huge. It's like almost like you got a big deadline at work or something, and like
hmm
it doesn't mean you hate your job. That's not what I'm saying. But it is. It just slowly builds and slowly builds. And like for me, I think that I'm genuinely a very likable person. Even people that don't agree with me, that know me in real life, that don't agree with my politics, they think I'm a pretty likable person. I could show you right now probably 50 to 100 messages that I've had publicly and privately in just the past 3 days that's just calling me every name in the book,
oh,
insulting
you gotta
me,
love that, right?
insulting my family, and it's like, yeah, I don't leave it get to me on the sort of macro level. It doesn't. But it just shows the intensity that certain people have of this. And at some point, I would love to be sitting here doing a stream with you, talking about our favorite 80s horror movie or, like, you know what I mean? Like, it just
Yeah.
looser stuff that the stakes aren't so high. So I totally get the idea, like, getting into this world. Plus, you're dealing with all these other things, right? Like, you try to actually put energy into a project like you
hmm
do or like we do with our channel, only to be constantly throttled by places like YouTube, only to like constantly be demonetized, community strikes. And so there does come a point where you just like, my goodness, is it worth like pressing on with this?
Well, so I'm not going to be doing political streaming. I'm not going to be doing political content. I'm going to be switching over to music. So
Okay.
I'm going to be doing cultural work, but I'm going to
Yeah.
be doing it with a political spin because I do love politics. I'm just sick of the debate panels with a bunch of mentally disabled individuals screaming at each other,
Did you do it
trying to
last
see.
night?
Yes, yes, and I
Was it, how
last
was
last
that?
straw, last straw.
Was it that
It
bad?
was it was
Who
horrible.
won? Who was the winner?
Corn,
I
actual
don't, I don't,
Jake.
how the guy dresses like corn one?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, you know, when and look, I don't expect any right side guy to win on the hippy dippy, especially when you're polling the audience. Which when I was talking to Danabo about it, I told him it was a mistake because one the audience, especially their audience, just oof. It, they got rid of Cam Higby. Like the first person they got rid of was Cam Higby, which they were like, oh well, he's a competent debater. No, he's got to go.
Yeah, the whole platform, and you heard me talking to Danabo about this the other night. We were on a brief
Yeah.
call. Now, I feel like I screwed Danabo over, but here's the deal, right? Like, you said that he messaged me. I never got the message. Then I messaged him back like 20 minutes after I was off that call with him, and I was like, yeah, I could do it. And I didn't hear anything the rest of the week. So coming that day, like, I was just like, hey, man, I never heard back from you. So my wife's dad's having a birthday party. I decided to go to it. And then as soon as I, like, leave for the birthday party, he messaged me. He's like, oh, shit, we were counting on you. And I feel bad. I wasn't trying to screw him over. I really wasn't. Well, but I didn't hear anything back. So I thought they went in a different direction.
So it's a little like backstage knowledge, things that y'all might not know. Anytime you book a conservative, you can almost bet on them to not only be on time, but to be early. If they tell you something, word is bond. Loaderbox was scheduled to go on that hippy dippy, and he decided to, I don't know, go make falafels or something. He wasn't going to do the show. So he decided against it. So they had to pull in, oh, well, he was there for 5 minutes. So it doesn't matter. That's exactly how amazing it was. But no, it was just, I was just sitting there half the time just going, hey, yeah, can I do, because I'm not going to turn my gain up to blow everyone out. I'm just not that guy.
Yeah, it gets those panels especially. It's the worst of the worst. It just feels like, I don't know, like even anymore. I try to talk to anyone. I really do. I don't care about the size of their channel or anything like that. But I purposely try to go out of my way to talk to who people think the best the other side has to offer to hopefully have a serious discussion.
I'm going to tell you, Crenshaw. What is his name?
Dan Crenshaw?
No, they had a lefty on. He's from the Virgin Islands. Very skilled. He's talented. He's in the. You need to look him up.
Does he want to debate?
You want to debate him?
Yeah.
It's not often that I I don't tell you. I don't really throw people your way. Rashad Crenshaw.
Sounds familiar. I don't know if I've talked to him before.
He usually has a Virgin Islands flag in the background. Young African American man, good guy. No, he is skilled. You should debate him. Look, he's not Destiny. He's not as good as Destiny rhetorically, but he's better than Destiny in every other way.
It got hard. He's a terrible person.
Yeah. No, but he seems like an all right guy. I think it would be.
Yeah, I'll reach out to him. What I was going to say is like I'll do one of these debates and then I have 50 people, right? Like I'm sure you heard me grousing about the January 6th debate. I talked to Destiny for 5 hours. He rage quits before we get to talk to the topic I want, and then I like tomfoolery, but like immediately I'm like, listen, man, I'm tired of giving into the left and doing these January 6th debates over and over and over and over and over again. And tomfoolery's like, hey, man, I'd like to talk to you about January 6th. Then I get like 8 more people that want to. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
At some point, it's just like, after Chuck says I've debated Rashad Crenshaw.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I'll have to look it up. I've debated so many people. Sometimes it gets lost. But he sounds familiar.
Aftershock says he's not good. Last night he showed some skill. Oh. And I have not seen you debate this guy, so
I'd be open to talking to him.
We'll differ.
Very few people that I wouldn't interact with again. It's like a very short list, and 99% of the time, the reason for that is because there's been so much toxicity, not necessarily from that person, but from their community. That's just not worth my time. There are certain members on the Twitch trans community that literally, for me to discuss something with them for 5 minutes would mean the total banning of my Twitch channel because I would get mass reported, and so it's like, why would I even put myself in that situation? It's not worth even attempting. So, but other than that.
That's actually another reason why I've considered I'm getting out of politics is because it is so divisive. If you put out an opinion that someone from the opposing side doesn't like, what do they do immediately? They have their audience mass flag you. They try to destroy your channel and everything else. And look, I'm tired of being nice. So I am going to make music. I'm already in the process of writing the first song I'm planning on releasing. I'm thinking about naming it Dystopia Utopia. My music's going to be political. We're going to be tossing commies in music. So Yeah,
Sorry,
but that's a lot of work.
just had to ban someone on Twitch. Again, I'll
Oh
tell
no.
people when you're using words that could violate TOS, like if you're using words that are explicitly accusing people of assaulting children in the most heinous of ways, sometimes what that does is, even if it's just in the chat, that could affect me as the streamer.
Yeah.
I understand the person that's using that word probably hates me because they're denigrating Trump, but I'm just trying to, you know, the Aftershock says I debated him on Trump's lawsuit, the felonies. Oh, okay. I vaguely remember that. Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, I would be happy to talk. The ones with me, Gibbs, Pisco, and Pondering. Yeah, I'll have to go. It
Well,
wasn't Joe Lewis?
no,
Oh,
no.
no. That was the hippy dippy with, with. Okay.
I really don't. I refuse to work with Joe Lewis.
Joe's funny. Half the time he seems very reasonable, and half the time it's just like.
I just don't deal with black nationalists and black separatists. I just no. I don't deal with any racial supremacist, and he's basically he's Nick Fuentes
Without the charm.
with different hair.
See, here's the thing about Nick, right? Like, I've never dealt with Nick, and I wonder how many of his beliefs are blown out of proportion. I don't know. But what I have seen of Nick is there are traits about him that are likable. I could see why an audience would generate.
He has charisma. He does. But look, most of your psychopaths do. I mean, look, the evil guy with the mustache from the 1930s. He was always described as charismatic. So I'm just saying, look, there's some people, and I'm not saying
Charlie
Nick Fuentes is that even remotely. Nick Fuentes, I think a lot of his reputation is overblown. Okay, he's not as bad as everyone says he is, but where he does the stuff that he does say is like, ooh, no, no.
It's like this. There's certain things like I have my issue. My big issue is corruption. And obviously, I talk about that sometimes on topics that maybe you would feel that's only tangential. But I think I'm at least reasonable and could engage in a discussion without bringing that up constantly as the center focus.
Well, see, and the deal is, one of his big deals is people of a certain religious background.
And it seems to be brought up every time.
In everything.
So it makes
and that's the problem I have.
There's a similarity with, believe it or not, and I don't mean this on the same moral plane, but it's like a lot of ANCAPs. Like there was someone in my Twitch chat earlier, right, that's just blowing up the chat, just comment after comment after comment after comment. I forget who the guest is, but it's on there. And they're just like, you're a statist. How could you even suggest voting? Taxation is theft. You're talking about voting? Have fun voting for your own slavery. The mere fact you participate means you're a slave. Participating means you're a slave. Have fun voting, slave. And it's like, wow, you're a blast to talk to. Like, I get it. You think that we should not involve ourselves in the system because the entire system is slavery. Great, you've said your piece. Goodbye. What else is there to say? Like, I get it, and it makes it...
You have to deal with the system that you're in, though. It's not like you can foment a revolution and destroy it all overnight. You have to deal within the situation. If you don't like the situation, you can work on changing it. But people don't like change. So if you want change to happen, it has to be incremental. I'm an abortion abolitionist. I would love nothing more than abortion to be banned nationwide without exceptions. And I know some people, clutch their pearls, go, oh my God. But I understand that that's a big ask. Okay. I am okay with, hey, Roe v. Wade being overturned. That's beautiful. So it goes to the states. Let the states decide. Mm-hmm. And if they want to go for the national deal, hey, I'd be more than happy to see anything after 16 weeks banned, because I understand that the Supreme Court lied to the women in America and told them that killing an unborn child is a right. Okay. I understand they did a big goof, and for 70 years, everyone thought, oh, well, this is my right. I can just kill this infant that's growing inside of me because the Supreme Court said so. Nowhere is killing another human a human right. So
yeah, I know what you're saying, and it is it's difficult to evaluate sort of being pragmatic and understanding that a lot of the beliefs that anyone has aren't going to be implemented immediately and universally versus selling out to the point where you're unrecognizable because you put your core beliefs on the back burner. And it is a
Yeah.
fine line to toe. You know, if abortion's your big issue and you say no abortion ever, complete elimination, how can I convince someone like, but listen, that's not a position that will ever win any sort of national election, to which their
Yeah.
response is going to be like, is a country worth saving that has to exist based on the death of children?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a compelling point. And so it does become difficult to be like, but things will be obviously better if we vote in this case for the party or the politician that is better on all of the other issues according to your worldview, and is even better on the issue you're focused on, just isn't as excellent as you want. And
Yeah.
it does it, you know, it's a difficult proposition. It really is.
Yeah,
To
you've gotta be realistic in what you advocate for, and that's really where it is. Like my River, my co-host,
yeah, yeah.
she hates it when we start talking about abortion because I'm an abolitionist, and she says, "Well, there has to be some exceptions," and I'm like, "Okay, but no." I'm like, I just find it to be morally abhorrent,
Yeah,
and she's
it's
like, and she wants to play the what if game, and I'm like, River, I am serious. I've thought about all this. Yes, some people will get a raw deal. Sucks to be them.
Damien
But
said, I think I missed this. Damien said when he was talking about you quitting, I think he said for $2, Sparky, don't worry, I'm watching Rob for illegal AI use. So don't
there
worry.
you go.
Yeah, just to make sure that Rob GPT doesn't rear his ugly head here. You
Look,
know,
Rob GPT is the third best Rob there is on the internet.
thank you.
Okay. Number one is transpositive Rob, and
Jeez.
then there's normal everyday Rob.
Maybe he'll
Okay.
make an
That's
appearance.
that's one and two. Transpositive Rob, definitely my favorite Rob, although I can only take him in about 10 to 15-minute
Yeah, me
increments.
too. That's how I feel. I definitely hear that. So hey, I got a guest that's going to be coming on at 6, so we got 20
Yeah,
minutes. So
man.
I would
No,
be,
you're good.
if I didn't ask you, like, what's your
Hmm.
feelings going into this election? Like, what are you seeing on the ground where you're at, and like, do you have any feelings how you think things might turn out?
Okay, so I live in the reddest state in America. I live in Oklahoma, center of flyover country. I mean, look, I-40 drives right through us. I-35 drives right through us going north. Literally just drive through. No one cares. All you see is boring. Look, the state that is so just mediocre, it's simply just okay. Um, of course, I see a lot of Trump signs, and even when I go to the blue areas, so like Norman, where my alma mater is, OU, I see a lot of Trump signs, which normally would be as blue as can be. Um, but I don't like to use that as a litmus. What I like to use is I've got family in California, in Southern California, around Orange County, and they see a lot of Trump signs.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that California is going to flip red. That'd be ridiculous to even mention. But what I'm saying is people are in deep blue areas are being less afraid to express themselves politically. So that is a positive. Everything that I'm hearing coming out of Pennsylvania, not, and I haven't talked to you about this,
Mhm.
Rob. The things that I'm hearing from Pennsylvania is pretty positive. You actually see some Trump things in Philly, something that'd be unheard of. In Pittsburgh, from what I understand, there's more Trump, pro-Trump activity than what you would normally think. But to
So I
see it in
could
Philly is
I could
crazy.
so to talk a little about this. So Pittsburgh, I have a friend that lives in Pittsburgh that's sort of apolitical. Good friend of mine I talk to a lot. Not definitely not super into politics. I think he is going to
Yeah.
vote for Trump this time. His vote for Trump, I think, largely is post assassination attempt, and sort of how people that he knew in his real life, like, he was shocked how many of them were like, good.
Yeah.
Wish that person wouldn't have missed. And he was just basically, enough is enough of this shit. Right?
Hmm.
Like, and that's sort of where he was coming from. But he messaged me last night or early today and was like, I think Trump and Kamala are doing rallies in Pittsburgh maybe the day before the election. And he was like, it's weird to live basically in the most important area in the world for 24 hours. Like, for that
Oh, I could
24-hour
imagine.
period. And he's like, it's
Yeah.
so weird. It's going to be like, 15 minutes from my house either way that you're going to, and he's like, it's a very weird thing. And he's like, I'm no political expert. He's like, but I'm telling you right now, just from being around Pittsburgh, I wouldn't be shocked for Trump to win Pittsburgh. That's what he said. He said, like, and now I would be shocked. That would be too far. The game is, can you mitigate Philly and Pittsburgh and Erie enough with the sort of middle of the state? If Trump's outright winning Pittsburgh, he ain't going to outright win Philly. But if he did outright win Pittsburgh, that would definitely be enough to tip the scale. So I don't think that will occur. If he doesn't win Pittsburgh, that doesn't mean he's lost the state. But that's his vibe. And I understand all of that's anecdotal. There are reasons in Pennsylvania to look at the numbers to be excited, such as the early voting numbers. I think we heard, who was it earlier today that was talking about this, and this is true, the firewall for Democrats in the Pennsylvania election in 2020 was about 1.1 million votes before Election Day even began. That's how far ahead Democrats were. This year, it looks like it's going to be close to 400,000. That means that they're basically, we'll say conservatively, 650,000 votes less. And that's a state that they only won by 80,000 votes. Now, of course, you have to measure in there. There's more Republicans that are voting beforehand, so are they all low propensity voters? Or will there no doubt be Republicans that voted early that elsewise would have voted on Election Day? Certainly there's some of those. And you have to weigh the fact that there will be Democrats that previously voted by mail because 2020 was COVID that now will be voting in person. But the question is, are there 650,000 of those two groups? And the smart money would say no. There's not, but I don't know in this state of Pennsylvania how much that will matter, because I'll just put this as diplomatically as possible. It may be that the institutional advantages to being a Democrat in Pennsylvania may be too much to overcome. So there's definitely, if you're just looking at the raw data, the other thing is, there is this, well, women are voting earlier more, and that's true. And don't take anything I'm saying as reason that you shouldn't go out to vote. Like, dude, I don't give a shit if you think Trump's 10 points down, 10 points up, anywhere in between. You need to vote. It's the only way we will win. But, like, looking at these numbers, the idea that women, particularly in Pennsylvania, are voting earlier at higher portions than men, the numbers I'm looking at are about 53% of early voting's been women, and something like 47%'s been men, right? But that's normal. That's the way it was in 2020, and it turns out men tend to outvote women on Election Day. And so it's not necessarily a oh shit. Uh-oh. But nothing important. My Zoom call just ended, but it's no big deal. I thought that something happened, but it's just because no one's been on there for, that's all.
Yeah.
But so there are definitely numbers, and that's in addition to polling that you see that suggests Trump's up in Pennsylvania. So we'll see. I choose to operate best as the underdog, so I choose to believe that we're always fighting an uphill battle right until the very last moment, Tuesday night when the last ballot's counted. Then we'll reevaluate. But that's how I choose to look at it.
The last ballot isn't going to be counted until probably Friday.
Oh yeah, that's definitely true.
It's because they got to know how much they need to make up. Look, the fix is in. I do believe that they are going to do the shadow campaign again. I see it like this: voter turnout, I believe, is going to be at an all-time high. Normally, early voting in Oklahoma, which started day before yesterday. People were waiting in line for 3 hours to vote. Normally during the early voting time, there's no wait. It's go in, you vote, you leave. I'm voting on Election Day because I believe there's only one day to vote. That's what it says in the Constitution. People like my wife, she went to go vote. She went and did early voting because she's being out of the country for voting day. So, hey, you got to go vote.
I talked about this earlier. Like, so for me, the calculus on when to vote at this point now, I certainly believe there should only be, with exceptions, like absentee ballots, people that are medically infirmed. Of course, exceptions made for them that can't physically get to a polling place. That I get. You serve in the military, you can't make it to a polling place. Totally get that. But those are sort of the exceptions that we've always had. And even in my state of Pennsylvania, those exceptions were expressly written into the Pennsylvania Constitution. There's a big debate as to whether mail-in voting goes against the Pennsylvania Constitution, which basically lays out the specific exemptions. And so if you aren't one of those specific exemptions that allow you to vote by mail, is the Constitution saying that therefore you can't vote by mail? Or is it It just outlines some of the specific reasons, but that's not non-inclusive of other reasons or dispositive of other.
I've been thinking about something recently, and I wanted your opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm a proponent for voter ID.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but voter ID can still be made. There's fraud. You
Sure.
can have fraudulent IDs. Biometrics. What do you think about biometric voter ID?
It's interesting, right? There's certainly pros and cons. It certainly
Yeah.
seems
Like,
it would
do you
be
really want the government to have that information for
right.
one? But
So, on one hand, right, no form of security will ever be 100% perfect. So, voter ID is certainly better than a status quo like here in Pennsylvania, where it's not required. But it certainly would be more secure to have biometric, but it does result in a problem of, are you comfortable giving that sort of data to a government institution? So, I would think that a happy medium would be, yeah, there'd still be able to be some fraud with presenting some form of official government ID, but that would limit it considerably, and that's good enough for me, as opposed to going to the next step to having to provide like DNA or something to be able to vote.
well, see, the government already has my DNA, so I don't have it.
There you go.
You know,
But
I sold my soul to the government years ago.
the question of like how to vote for me, because we have the system we have, and here's the problem. I think it was a mistake for Republicans, particularly in Pennsylvania in 2020, to sign off on Act 77, which massively increased mail-in voting. But they didn't take advantage of it in 2022. And I liken it to this, professional football, it used to be that you weren't allowed to have the forward pass, right? So you could only hand off the ball or pass backwards, right? And then at some point they changed the rule. So imagine being a team that's pissed about it, and you're like, that's horseshit. That's not real football. So we're not going to do it. We're not going to pass the ball forward. We're going to play by the old rules. And the other teams will go, okay, and we're going to beat you every game. And that's what would happen. So just because you don't like the rule, once the rule is in place, you have no choice but to embrace it. And I think that's a mistake that hopefully Republicans are correcting this time around, where they rightfully said that the way that this was changed, the laws have been changed, were ripe for possible fraud, neglect, etc., and that it would be preferable to go back to the old system where we voted in person and change it to you have to have voter ID. I agree with all that, but that's not the way it is right now. And so you need to be doing things like ballot harvesting. You need to be encouraging early voting. So for me, the calculus comes down to what is the most likely scenario for your vote to be counted? And there are pros and cons of voting in person on election day versus mail-in voting. The con of voting in person election day is, what if an emergency comes up? What if you're in a wreck? What if you have a heart attack? What if there's a terrible storm? What if the power goes out? What if there's a line that's 20 hours and you get discouraged and have to go home? And all of those things are a possibility. But there are negatives to voting by mail. What if the mail truck wrecks and catches fire? What if some vagrant lights the drop box on fire, like we saw happen in Portland?
I think drop boxes are completely ridiculously just illegal. It should be.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they're unsecurable.
Yes, I agree. And then there were supposed to be cameras on them, but half the cameras malfunctioned in 2020 and all that shit. I mean, it's grotesque. So
just like Epstein's, Epstein's prison cell. Yeah.
So there's definitely scenarios where you can say, well, your chance of getting counted is better if you mail in. For me, it's a simple decision. I live in an area of the world where it's about 10 minutes to my polling station. My entire process of going in to vote will be about 4 minutes maximum. It's a small enough county with a big enough presence of people that volunteer at the polls that it always runs smoothly. Even if every single even if like instead of 40% of the county voting, even if it ends up being 100%, we're talking about a wait time of 20 minutes to a half an hour. So I don't have those concerns that maybe other people have that you're voting in a city. So for me, it was an easy decision for me and my family to go election day. But I understand the people that vote early, and all forms of that's important, right? If you're the team of the Trump team, the Republican team, you want to diversify the type that's occurring because it makes it more secure in the fact that it's harder to find one area to exploit. So you can't be in Arizona in 2022 when you're like, whoopsie daisy, the machine stopped working. Oh, well, I guess you lose, right? Because now there's at least this backup that enough people, had voted previously, et cetera, et cetera. So I get it. And I understand why the Trump team's been pushing early voting. And you've seen a lot of conservative influencers, your Charlie Kirks, people like that are like, why aren't you out there voting early? I respect that. It
Yeah.
didn't work for me, for my personal decision, but I mean, I took the week off work. I've planned to literally spend my entire day being available, driving anyone in this county that
That's
needs
beautiful,
to get to the
man.
pool.
That's really awesome.
So I'm hoping that people take me up on that offer, because I know an awful lot of people that are registered to vote that probably don't. They're it's just another day, and I'm going to be pestering them like, I'll pick you up and tell you funny stories on the way to the fucking polling station. Let's go. Of course, I'm sure someone like Pisco will be like, but actually, the law says that you're not allowed to give something of value to people to encourage them to vote, and we all know, Rob, people would pay money to hear your humorous stories. So actually, you're probably breaking the law driving people to vote. We get it.
Pisco spent all day yesterday claiming that Trump said that what's her name should be put in front of a firing squad.
Right.
So you know,
reeks of desperation. It's why are I mean, it amazes me at how people are willing to throw away their credibility. Like, first off, do you really think that argument's going to move the needle? Right? Like, either Trump will win or he won't. Do you think that argument? So you're willing to just piss away any shred of credibility you have? That's what you're willing to do over this?
And for Christ's sakes, it's a Cheney. Like seriously, we're talking about someone whose father shot his best friend in the face, or shot one of his friends in the face, and his friend apologized for getting in the way of the shot. We're talking about one of the people that helped devise the scam to send people like me to Iraq. You know, where I lost friends.
No, yeah.
You know, and things like that.
I don't like to talk about it. I certainly look. One of my friends he wasn't like my best friend or anything, but he was someone that I hung out with, used to drink with in high school, would go bowling with, played football with. Humorous guy. Like we were chummy. You know, he passed away in Afghanistan, and you know, I don't like to wear it on my sleeve or any shit like that. I always try to talk about it on Memorial Day to kind of just pay a little homage to him, because he's the closest person in my life that's passed away in service. You know, but how dare these fucking people clutch their pearls over that comment? Because it's a comment I've been making ever since the Iraq War. When poor people like my friends go over there to die, no one gives a shit, right? And so you always ask this.
For the war. I was for the war. Okay, I was big into it. Look, after 9/11, I was in the military already. I'm like, let's go get them bastards. And we went off to Afghanistan, and then they said, you know what? We got this going on in Iraq. And I went, okay. Because we've also, what a lot of people don't know is, following the 89 invasion of Kuwait, America has been occupying Saudi Arabia, acting as their defense force for this entire time. I'm like, you know, this would be a good chance for us to end the threat in the region and allow Americans to go home. Let's go.
But here's the thing, right?
And then,
people like,
but
go ahead, sorry.
When everything was done, when we figured out that Osama bin Laden wasn't in Afghanistan, by the way, that was a month into the campaign. We knew that a month into the campaign. And when we got into Baghdad and we found some weapons of mass destruction. The problem is they still said property of U.S. Army on the side of them, because we sold the Iraqis weapons during the 70s while they were engaged in war with Iran. We realized it was all a lie. It was all a lie. And then we continued to stay there. And so over the years, it started to fester in my head. Why are we still here? We were told that we were coming here to do a thing. We did the thing. Let's move on. And no, then I see that, okay, we have Army soldiers protecting U.S. contractors, because we've got to build new infrastructure and we've got to do all this other stuff. And oh my God, we're money laundering. That's all we're doing.
Yeah.
And
out the backs of people
like
you. That's
why I left the military.
Patriots like you that volunteered to go over not because you wanted to get rich. Sure, there are opportunities with joining the military, but that wanted to go over because we were attacked and you wanted to protect our country. And that's what that argument, by the way, it's the same argument that hippies made all throughout the 70s, the Vietnam War, the 60s and 70s, right? The general argument of the chicken hawks that send our young people to die would think differently if it was them and their family on the front line. The left has made that argument. The left made that argument specifically about Dick Cheney. Where, like, if it was his kids that had to go. And what happened was 20 years later, when Trump makes the exact same argument, Hey, Dick Cheney's daughter, you wouldn't be for all these wars if you were in the line of fire. The same left that literally had that basically as a creed so much it would have been tattooed on their damn arm, all of a sudden are like, oh, how dare he? We can't believe that he would suggest that. I'm tired of this pearl clutching, just like the Tony Hinchcliffe stuff. I'm tired of it, man. I'm so tired of it. And like the idea that they're willing to sell out their credibility because they're so desperate. In their head, they don't give a shit. Orange Man bad, everything on the table. We'll worry about our credibility later. All that matters is stopping the Orange Man.
But they're doing the same stuff they did with George Bush. Okay. The literally Hitler thing. I'm old enough to remember George W. Bush. You know, he was literally Hitler. Now Trump is literally Hitler, and they love George W. It is ridiculous. I look at all this like I used to be pro-war, but that was when I was in the military and I had the ability to go and put my ass on the line. Okay, I'm not going to ever advocate for anyone else to go to war. That's why when Ukraine kicked on and people started talking about it, I'm like, no, it's none of our business.
Yeah.
I'm a Messianic Jew. Israel is a place that holds some significance to me. And I'm like, still not our problem.
Yeah.
You know, it's not Americanistan. And I'm sick and tired of sending our men and women overseas to die in wars that have nothing to do with us, but has everything to do with the special interest class of America that is funding our political class to make decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I said this. I remember when I used to write for John Burke's website, you know, I remember with the whole Ukraine shit when it started, I was like, why is it that we're always asking sort of blue collar Americans that they need to sacrifice more? Under COVID, it was, oh, sorry, you guys got locked down. You got to make sacrifices. Sorry. The elites didn't. They went off to their parties. They had Barack Obama had a birthday party. They had John Lewis got to have a nice funeral. Not my relatives, not my friends. They were told they were non-essential and told to eat shit and they had to stay home. But all the elites got to do whatever the hell they wanted. Then we have this situation in Ukraine. Oh, sorry, guys. America's going to sacrifice more. And by America sacrifice more, they don't mean Lockheed Martin. They don't mean the politicians. They don't mean the wealthy. They mean, once more, the poor and the working class. And when it comes to climate change, sorry, America, you're going to have to suck it up and sacrifice more. Who do they mean? The poor and the working class again. I'm so tired of it. And, you know, I'm not saying there's never a place for military intervention or where our troops don't have to be sent. For God's sakes, any country needs to have a robust military that's willing to protect itself and its interests. That I understand. The problem I have is the flippancy in which people are sent to these meat grinders by people that are never going to be touched by that in the first place. There are people that I vehemently disagree with, but have at least served and been in conflict zones, so you could say at least that person has an idea. You know, it's this sort of old idea, you know, in law enforcement, they have police officers before they finish training get tased or get maced. And the idea is you should know how that feels like, right? Before you flippantly want to just, I'm going to run around, tase people and mace people, you should feel for a second what that's like in just a little way.
So to be certified in that, you have to be tased, you have to be maced. I've been certified in both. And it was eye-opening and both blinding at the same time because getting maced really sucks. Getting tased, not pleasant either. But yeah, look, I know you're running up against a deadline. Look, this has been my grievance portion. We will be talking about positive things with Ron Paul later on tonight.
Yeah, I'll hit you up. I'll check and see what my times are. I got people, even as I'm talking, I got people texting me and they're adjusting times and this, that, and the other. Now, the nice thing about you is there are certain people, if they call on, we could have you on with, like, if Frank or Drone Tech or something, that'll be great to have 3-4 of us on a time. That's not a problem. But, like, some of these people that are, like, state-level politicians and stuff or people involved in
I have no business being there.
Well, no, it's not that. It's just that, they're going to have to call. I wanted to explain this real quick. The reason I'm using Zoom, for those that don't know, like, because Jebtan was like, what the fuck, you boomer? What are you using Zoom for? Well, the reason is because a lot of people that aren't involved in streaming regularly have no clue what Discord is. And the only platform that they're sort of familiar with video calls is Zoom. So I actually had to buy a Zoom subscription this morning because otherwise you could only do 40-minute calls. So
and
that's
then there's so many people that cannot use Discord. Frank, let's be frank, he has been banned off of Discord because one person in his Discord wrote something that broke their terms of service and the mods didn't catch it. And so everyone in that server got banned who had any type of modding rights or ownership rights.
No kidding.
So yeah,
Yeah, I got a story about that. I'll tell the audience here as I wait. But thanks so much, Sparky. We'll talk to you here later in the
No,
evening, I'm sure. Always
you have a
appreciate it,
great
man.
you have a great rest of your night. Have a great stream, and of course, look, stay strong, man. Look, pound you some energy drinks. What you got to do. I'll be on later on, and we'll instead of griping about things, let's talk about positive things.
Let's
'Cause
do it. It'll be
we
good.
got Ron Paul, and look,
Talk
everyone
about
here.
Peanut the squirrel. That's the late
Oh,
night
dude.
talk.
Oh,
Yeah, we're on it.
yeah,
We got a lot
I'm
of
all
good
about
peanut
it.
news. Yeah. So.